So my intention is to give a picture of the way in which the teaching and leadership standards will make a difference to professionalism in Wales and eventually to the outcome for young people and children in schools. Let's first of all start with the standards as a dynamic process that offer potential to the profession. It's intended that the standards are a vehicle for professional growth which identify strengths in individuals but enable the system to shift. The standards will describe characteristics that will lead to enhanced expectations and enhanced outcomes for young people. They'll offer a multi-layered analysis and they'll use ICT as a way of shedding light on dimensions so that departments, key stages and schools can look at their whole picture of teaching and leadership so that the provision for young people is enhanced. Some of the decisions that have emerged about the way in which the standards will move forward are that the standards will address professional values and dispositions, that values and dispositions are at the heart of good teaching and leadership. The standards will also address skills, knowledge and understandings necessary for teachers to be the best they can. The professional standards will be web-based, and in doing so they will offer relevant descriptors the possibility of linking to others so that the multifaceted aspect of teaching can be unpicked. There won't be any charts, any lists, any spreadsheets with the standards on. There's nothing, of course, that will stop some people taking a website apart and creating a list, but there's no intention to do that. And the web platform will contain example upon example upon example to create that opportunity for people to talk about the way the standards and the descriptors help them to understand their own role as teachers going through. Because the conversation about the quality of teaching and the quality of leadership is as important as recognising where you are on the standards themselves. The standards need to fuel professional activity and growth. They're not a one-off, once a year recognition of whether certain things have been secured or achieved. They're about growth and development. And the last little point to make is that the decision has been made that the standards will be reviewed every 3 years, not wiped away and clean slated, but given the chance to think about what words need to be changed, what aspects of teaching have come into the job or disappeared from the job over the last 3 years so that standards remain current and up to date. So let's look at the architecture of the standards, the way in which the standards are put together and described. First of all, it's important to say that at the heart of the standards are some dispositions and attitudes and outlooks that are absolutely central to the job of teaching or leadership in Wales. There'll be a set of statements to describe what it is to be a teacher, what it is to be a leader, that we sign up to the ambition of Wales, that we're committed to the extension of Welsh culture and Welsh language with all our children, that we believe that we put in front of the children the best that we can be, and that we put the needs and the requirements of our children's education in front of everything else we do. It's a sort of Hippocratic oath for teachers, so that the drive for teaching, the professionalism of the job, underpins the whole of the standards as we go forward. And of course, many people have already seen the way in which the standards are portrayed on the website. There will be 5 dimensions for the standards. First of all is pedagogy. Pedagogy is paramount. The way in which we will get our children to learn more is to enhance and able to make better our pedagogy. If pedagogy is paramount, then it's supported by leadership that will help it to grow. Collaboration will help it to spread. Professional learning will take pedagogy deeper, and innovation will move pedagogy forward. And the standards are built around these 5 dimensions with the descriptors that enable us to look deeper into each of them. The aim is to make sure that pedagogy stays central, that effective pedagogy is the heart of all we do. So let's unpack each dimension. The pedagogy section will unpack into 3 elements, and the 3 elements could be described in any order. We're setting out to refine our teaching to influence the learners by advancing the learning that we offer. Or you could say that we're advancing the learning and therefore we need to refine our teaching but the aim is to influence the learners so that they're positive about their own learning. Those three elements unpick into a set of descriptors. So advancing learning, trying to create effective application of subject knowledge and discipline, means that we're looking at many of the aspects that Donaldson outlines in his review. At the heart of Graham Donaldson's work are the 4 purposes for learning, built around areas of experience. So we would expect them to be described in detail as we seek to advance the learning for our young people. Graham talks about real life, authentic experiences being a part of the learning opportunity for children. So what we need is to see those as a natural part of the way in which we open opportunities. Cross-curricular themes as at the root of what Graham talks about in terms of advancing learning. And so these 5 dimensions are described in detail as we go through the standards, but they're focused on 3 key points. There is the entrance to the teaching profession, the qualified teacher status. There's that lovely moment for most people where then they're accepted into the profession at the end of induction. And instead of having several hurdles or stepping stones to meet as they go through the career, the last descriptor relates to some mystic area further out, which is the extended, sustained, excellent teaching professional quality. And what we're encouraging teachers to do through these standards is to see themselves moving along those dimensions, pulling the dimensions together and seeing their skills grow in a rounded way. When it's on a website, of course, it'll be possible to link different descriptors together and show how when we develop one aspect of our teaching, we're also developing 2 or 3 others. And at the same time, by working with teachers across our school or beyond, we're collaborating, we're trying something new that's innovative. And the intersection of each of these dimensions will create the examples that appear on the website. So let's have a look at some of the detail of the descriptors, just a few to give a flavour of the way in which the descriptors are set out. If we were look at advancing learning, and for examples we would look at real life authentic purposes. Graham Donaldson holds that real life authentic purposes are absolutely essential. So the 2 descriptors that will appear in the standards basically set out the expectations for the early career teacher. So there is evidence of real life authentic context for learning being provided as a natural aspect of the pupil experience. So we would expect during the first year of teaching that a teacher would find ways to make learning authentic and real for children, natural ways. We all take children on visits, or we get visitors to come into school, or we try and make learning come real for children, those abstracts and concepts. But what's essential is that it becomes a natural part of the teaching experience and natural part of learning for children. In the professional learning dimension, then wider research and reading are at the heart of the descriptors. Early in their career, the teacher would make reasoned decisions based on on pedagogy, based on the relevant reading and research that they've experienced. Further on, then you would expect that to be more structured and more developed, so that the teacher's understanding is much more refined. In leadership, taking responsibility for self, the descriptor for the new entrant to the profession talks about being able to accept responsibility and demonstrate the commitment to learners through their performance and the way that they've organised and managed. It's a fairly simple description in the way it's stated, but it's complex, as we all know, in unpicking it and understanding the role of the teacher and making sure that the teacher is developing. Turning to the standards for professional leadership in schools in Wales, the decision has been made to try to move the leadership standards to ensure that they're in tune with the teaching standards. So just as there are 5 dimensions for teaching, so there are 5 dimensions for leadership. The attitudes and the dispositions of head teachers and leaders, whatever level of leadership, remain the same as for teachers. We want the best for young people in Wales. We want them to understand the Welsh culture and the Welsh language. We want them to have the best ambitions in terms of literacy, numeracy and digital competence. But the leadership standards themselves are described around the same 5 dimensions. So let's explore those a little bit and look at some of the detail. Leadership itself begins in a formal sense at some point during the career. Many teachers elect not to ever take on a formal leadership role. In fact, the vast majority of teachers are in that position. But some teachers move to become heads of phase, heads of department. They take on the formal leadership role of deputy head teacher or the role of head teacher. And so their formal leadership role triggers the expectation that they will meet a promoted post. Leadership promotes, demands and ensures that the learning success, achievement and well-being of all learners is evident throughout the school. It could be the department, but it's throughout their experience. At the extended end, then, leadership promotes collaboration with other schools and other departments and accepts professional responsibility for supporting and enabling the success of others. All of these descriptors fit together to create the standards that are expected for leaders in Wales. And all of these descriptors will lead in the end to a better outcome for every young person, every child and every community in the Welsh nation.